Hi, and welcome back to Carefully Speaking. I'm your host, Dr. Jamila Brown, and I am really glad that you're here with me today. If you're someone who's new here, Carefully Speaking is a space for honest conversations about healing, about boundaries, about mental health, and about becoming who you were always meant to be, gently but truthfully. This podcast is especially for people who are caring for others, caring for themselves, or simply seeking personal or professional growth in the midst of real life. This is where we name the hard things without losing our softness. So we're in the month of May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I want to be honest from the very beginning, before we get into it, right? I want to tell you a little bit about why this conversation means so much to me, not just as a woman, but as a professional too. Okay? So many of you who might know me know that I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been doing this work supporting people in their emotional, psychological, and even their spiritual healing for almost 20 years now. Okay? I've worked in clinics, I've worked in communities, and I've witnessed people at some of their most raw, vulnerable, and tender moments. And from all of that, what I have learned is this: mental health is more than just what is written in a case file. Mental health is more than a diagnosis or a cluster of symptoms in the DSM-5. Okay? Mental health is not something that you only think about when things fall apart. Mental health is a part of our everyday lives. It's our body, it's our nervous system, it's our internal dialogue, it's our energy, it's our ability to feel safe. Not just physically safe around our environment, but emotionally safe, psychologically safe, spiritually safe. But somewhere along the line, we lose that message. Because when people hear the words mental health, they often think of things like what? What do you think about? You think about medication, you think about therapy or counseling, you think about an illness, you think about a crisis. And yes, those things are parts of it, right? But they're not the whole story. And let's be real, okay? We've seen the commercials, we've seen the advertisements, the ones that start out in black and white, where someone who is looking very sad, staring out of a dreary window, and then all of a sudden, the screen changes to a beautiful colorful scenery because that person just started a new medication, right? And don't get me wrong, okay? For some people, medication is life-saving. It is important. And so I don't want to downplay the importance of symptom relief. It is healing. But my point is, mental health is not just about a prescription or about a diagnosis. Okay? It's not something that only applies to people who are in crisis. Mental health is really about how you, how I, how we relate to ourselves and the world around us. It's how we eat. It's how we sleep. It's how we breathe, how we think, how we recover from stress, from burnout, right? It's the way that our bodies tighten up whenever we hear bad news. And not just personal bad news, global bad news, social bad news, political bad news. Okay? the job layoffs. So many of us right now are living in a state of job insecurity, right? The mass school shootings, the natural disasters, the groceries that are now twice as much as they were last year, while your paycheck still stays the same. Okay? It's the tension that you feel when you are trying to smile at work, but deep down you are saying, how much longer can I keep showing up? And yes, it is the anxiety that you feel when a bill, another bill, shows up in the mail. It's the lump in your throat when your child is asking you for something and you have to say no to them again. All of that is mental health. That is your nervous system responding to life in real time. And sometimes it's the exhaustion that doesn't go away even after a full night's rest, because it's the mental fog that makes it hard to concentrate. And it's the shame that starts to creep in even when you're doing your best. So now, if we want to define mental health in clinical terms, and I think it is important to do that, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, defines mental health as our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, how we act, how we handle stress, how we relate to other people, and how we make decisions. Now, to add to that, the World Health Organization, or WHO, adds that mental health isn't just the absence of a mental illness, it's a state of well-being where you can realize your own potential, cope with life stressors, work productively, and contribute to your community. And look, I get it. These definitions are helpful, but they're also very clinical. And most of us don't walk around every day reflecting on them. You know, we're not all walking around saying, am I reaching my full potential today? No. What we might be thinking is, can I actually get through this week? So, for those of us who are living real life, I want to define mental health based on everything that I have lived and what I have witnessed. So what is mental health actually, right? Mental health is your relationship with yourself. Okay? Think about it. It's the way that you speak up or speak to yourself whenever you make a mistake. It's how you come back to yourself after a disappointment. It's whether or not you feel worthy of rest, or whether you believe your value only comes from what you produce. It's how you regulate your nervous system, how you set your boundaries, how you move through grief. It's whether you believe that your feelings are valid or whether you've learned to swallow them just to keep the peace. Mental health is not just about what's wrong, it's about what's hidden. It's about what's unspoken. It's what's been carried for too long. And that is what brings me to the heart of this episode, because so many of us are living with emotional patterns that we don't realize and we didn't choose. Roles that we slip into because we thought that we had to. Identities that have been shaped by our upbringing, by our families of origin, by our faith, by our survival. And I call these patterns emotional archetypes. And today, I want to name them. I want to name 5 emotional archetypes that I see very often in women, especially women of color. Okay, so let's talk about some of these emotional patterns that many of us are living through, even if we've never named them. Okay, they're like characters in a story, invisible roles that shape how we think, how we give, how we protect, and how we show up in the world. And the truth is, a lot of us did not choose these roles, right? They were shaped by what we lived through, by what we were raised, by what we were taught, and what it meant to be good or strong or needed. And so here are 5 emotional archetypes I've seen show up again and again in people's lives, and maybe even in my own, right? And these archetypes, they often show up for people who are carrying a lot for others. So, number 1, the first emotional archetype is the one who always steps up, or I'd like to call them the overfunctioning one. Okay? So they are dependable, responsible, always on call, right? The helper, the fixer. They've probably been holding it together for years, maybe even decades. And they probably learned early on that being needed equals being loved. They're able to anticipate the needs of others before they're even spoken, right? So they're very intuitive, highly empathic folks, right? They're the go-to at work, at home, in every group chat, right? But they rarely let themselves fall apart. Okay? They struggle to rest. They can't ask for help, and they tie their values into their own output. Now, mental health for the overfunctioning one, it may look like anxiety, people pleasing, chronic burnout, or maybe even guilt around choosing rest. But alternatively, healing for the overfunctioning one begins with, I am still worthy even when I do less. I am not what I do. I'm allowed to just be. Okay? That's the overfunctioning one. Number 2, emotional archetype number 2 is the performer who is tired of performing, which I like to call the silent achiever. Okay? So they are accomplished, admired, right? On paper, everything is perfect. All boxes are checked. Degrees, licenses, you name it. Okay? They are accomplished, but they are rarely seen. They are praised for their performances, but they hide their own needs and minimize their own pain. They hide behind their productivity, and they smile through their burnout. Now, mental health for the silent achiever may look like very high functioning depression, but also maybe even detachment, emotional numbness, and constant pressure. And inside, there's a quiet ache, a question. Would I still matter if I stopped achieving? And their healing begins with, I want to be known and I want to be seen, not just respected. That's the silent achiever. Emotional archetype number 3, the one who carries the light for everyone else, or, as I would like to call them, the spiritually responsible one. So this person is deeply, deeply spiritually rooted and maybe even very religious. This person is the listener, the prayer partner, the prayer warrior. They have been strong for so long that people often forget that they have needs too. They confuse their silence with peace, and they may even overfunction with faith. Yeah. They're the one who is holding everyone up in prayer. They forgive, but they suppress their pain in the name of peace. And I can tell you this, they are tired. And for the spiritually responsible one, mental health may look like spiritual bypassing. Okay? It may look like suppressed emotion. It may look like guilt around honesty. And for the spiritually responsible one, their healing begins with, my tears are sacred too. Even God can handle my truth. Archetype number 4, the one everyone trusts, or as I would like to call them, the strong friend. Yes, they are the organizer, the planner, the one who never needs anything, or so it may seem. They're emotionally available, but also very isolated. Everyone turns to them for all the answers, but no one checks in with them. Everyone leans on them and they listen. They give and they give and they give and they show up and they show up and they show up. But they don't know how to let people show up for them. And at the end of the day, they still feel alone in their own strength. So for the strong friend, mental health may look like unspoken resentment, quiet loneliness, emotional exhaustion. And for you, strong friend, your healing begins with, I deserve support and softness too. And number 5, and this is probably the most important one of all, the one who is finally protecting their peace. And I would like to call this one the boundaried one, okay? This archetype is like the phoenix rising, okay? They used to overextend themselves. They used to overgive. They used to overexplain, but now they are reclaiming. They are setting boundaries and they are letting go. They're learning that peace isn't passive. No, it's chosen. They are done overextending. And they are reclaiming their peace. People may call them cold or, oh, she's different, right? But really, she's finally choosing herself. And for this person, this archetype, the boundaried one, their mental health might look like clarity. It might look like hyper independence. It might look like grief over some lost connections. Yeah. And their healing is in learning to trust safe connections again. Healing begins with, my boundaries are a reflection of my healing and not of my hardness. All right, so if you heard yourself in any or in many of these 5 different emotional archetypes, just do me a favor. Take a deep breath, okay? Listen, you're not alone, okay? These patterns were built to keep you safe. But the good news is that they do not have to define your future, okay? You are not broken. You are becoming. You are adapting, you are surviving, and now you get to choose differently. Okay? So now that we have named these patterns, which often shape our mental health, let's talk about what healing can actually look like in real time. Okay? I want to leave you with 5 real strategies that you can use starting today. Okay? And here are a few ways that you can begin doing that. Number 1, name your emotions without apology. Okay? If you're tired, say that. If you're grieving, name it. Language opens the door to healing. So name whatever it is that you are really feeling in real time, unapologetically, out loud, and not the extra light version, not the fluffy stuff, the actual one, okay? Because language gives shape to healing. Number 2, take one thing off of your plate on purpose. Not because you can't handle it. No, I know you can handle it. We all know you can, right? But take it off your plate because you're allowed to. You're allowed to have limits, and you don't need to be in a breakdown to deserve a break. Okay? Number 3, build one small ritual of peace. A deep breath, a cup of tea, 5 minutes of stillness. Create whatever ritual that tells your nervous system you are safe. Something small, something real, something meaningful to you, and something that does not require a performance. Number 4, let some softness into your life, okay? Let someone open the door for you. Let yourself cry. Let someone see you or hear you cry. Let someone else help. Let joy and laughter come into your life without asking it to and without performing it. Say yes without having to earn joy. And number 5, choose connection over performance. Okay? Let your real self be seen, not for what you do, not the highlight reels or the curated and filtered moments, but let yourself be seen for who you truly are. Let the veil come down. And you don't have to do it publicly. Just let one person in. Be honest with them. Be honest with yourself. Even if it's just to say, I am not okay today. So I hope that these strategies can be useful to you this week as we navigate through this month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. But before we go, let me remind you of this. You do not have to be fully healed to be worthy of rest. You do not have to be perfect to be deserving of love. You do not have to explain your pain to justify your healing. You are worthy even when you're not producing, even when you are simply existing. Remember, you're not broken. You are just becoming. So if this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone else who might need to feel a little less alone. Email me at host@carefully-speaking-podcast.com. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to know what landed for you from this episode. Until next time, take care of your mind, take care of your body, take care of your spirit. This is Carefully Speaking with Dr. Jamila, and I'll talk to you soon.